Oof, oof, oof. Yeah. We in this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Got my Raiders gear out here. We out here big repping because we coming
Hey,
from victory, and you are now watching Juke Boy Sports Show. I am your
live.
host, King Ralph here with the homie and my co-host, the homie Kyle. What's popping, bro?
Hey, yo, it's another day. We got NBA on the horizon. We got WNBA being played. Everything's good, man.
Yeah, right on. That's what's up.
Mm-hmm.
And this show has been brought to you by 707 Fit Boxer.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to do any podcast photo shoots, music videos, call the number on the bottom of the screen, 707 Fit Boxer. Make sure you go and follow all of our socials. They're right there on the bottom on the ticker.
Mm-hmm.
But make sure you go and you like the He Say She Say, all one word, He Say She Say channel on Facebook. Go on not Instagram, but YouTube and look J.U.K. and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Make sure you go on the Instagram at J.U.K. Sports Show. And we got a lot to get down to. There's some other socials right there on the bottom of the ticker. We're gonna have those going throughout the show, but we'll go more in depth on our personal ones at the end of the show.
All right.
Cowboys, can they win a Super Bowl? With Dak.
Man, they can't. Oh, go ahead.
Year, Dak gets into a big game, and
Mm,
Kirk Cousins just comes up short.
man.
Shorter
Yeah.
than Dak every time.
Yeah. That's one of those weird
They won
things.
a Super Bowl with Dak.
Can they win a Super Bowl with Dak, Ralph? They can't win the division with Dak. Come on, man. Like, the pace they're going, man. Come on, man. Like, you saw that game? Look, man, I'm gonna be real with you. I mentally checked out in the second half. I was like, man. And apparently Dak mentally checked out in the second half with the picks he was throwing. So
Right.
I gotta say, I don't believe that they can win a Super Bowl with Dak because we've seen this time and time again. He puts a cap on their ceiling. I feel like I've said this 3 years ago, and here we are 3 years later. And I'm still saying the same thing. So let me just throw out some quick stats and I'll pass it to you. His playoff record is 2-4. Now there's usually both sides of the story of that. But did you know, Ralph, that he has 3 touchdowns and 6 interceptions in his last 3 games versus the San Francisco 49ers, including playoffs? They showed that set on ESPN. And guess what? The result of that was all losses. Guess what he had last game when they played the 49ers? He had 3 interceptions. They were not able to move the football. They were not able to get in the red zone and do things. CeeDee Lamb was open a numerous amount of times. He was more open than CVS 24 care or anything like that, man. So, yeah, I don't believe they can. And I think they need to move on from Dak Prescott. If the Philadelphia Eagles can move on from Carson Wentz, why can't the Cowboys move on from Dak? So my answers to the riddle question is no, they cannot win with Dak Prescott. The floor is yours.
I agree, man. 100%. It just seems like he has all of the intangibles. Like he has the great leadership.
Mm-hmm.
He has a strong arm. He's durable for the most part. Big body, mobile. And it's just like when the games happen, it's more than just like he has a playoff victory, which is something that other quarterbacks can't say that they have. But at the same time, when he plays those Monday night games, those Sunday night games, the playoff games, he just doesn't look strong. And then specifically, you put that on top of the fact that he just struggles, like you mentioned, against the 49ers.
Right.
And the 49ers look like the team to beat. So I just don't see it. If he looks that bad every game they play the 49ers, he's going to continue to look that bad every time they play the 49ers.
Yeah, I agree.
And so I just don't see it happening. By all means, get your money, Dak. But from what it seems, man, you cannot mess with the 49ers. And for that reason and that reason alone, like, no, they cannot win a Super Bowl with that.
Okay.
Jordan Shrug. There was a plethora of injuries in the NFL this week in Week 5. Who were some of the biggest injuries? Who was the biggest injury in your personal opinion for Week 5?
Okay. Yeah, so I kind of had my initial person. Initially, I saw Justin Jefferson, and then I thought, oh, look, Anthony Richardson, because he keeps getting recurring injuries, right? We had a concussion. He had a knee injury. Then he has it seems like a shoulder or AC sprain. And I'm looking at the draft capital, investing in first round draft capital. I believe he was the 4th overall pick, right, of the Colts. But then I'm like, Gardner Minshew went 11-14 for 155 yards and 2 quarters versus the Titans. Gardner Minshew also won a game on the road, mind you, Ralph, in Baltimore, and already beat Baltimore. And their next 4 games are against the Jaguars, the Browns, which I believe they can beat, the Saints, and then the lowly Panthers with Bryce Young, who seems to be the worst quarterback out of that bunch of the rookies right now. So by process of elimination and by just the criteria I used, it has to be Justin Jefferson for me. The reason why I'm picking Justin Jefferson is because Justin Jefferson is a premier player in this game. Justin Jefferson, by many people's estimation, is the best wide receiver in football, right? Now, some may argue Devontae Adams. Some may even argue right now a Tyreek Hill. But Justin Jefferson has all the statistics, the production, and he was placed on IR, so that will mean that he will be missing the next 4 games. But I'm also looking at team success, Ralph. And the Minnesota Vikings are 1-4 in the NFC North, right? They are tied for last. Who are they tied with? I believe the Bears. But the Bears, they just got a recent win. And then I'm looking at the fact that they have to go into Chicago, Soldier Field, which is no easy place to play. It's going to get colder without their top weapon. I think Justin Fields, your boy, is feeling good. Then they have to play a primetime game without Justin Jefferson versus the 49ers. And then they have to play at Lambeau Field, which is another tough place to play. And you have Jordan Love, who is a respectable quarterback. Then they have to play at the Falcons. Don't sleep on the Falcons. I know we have some questions and qualms about Arthur Smith, but I think Bijan Robinson, I think Drizzy Drake London, Kyle Pitts, if they ever use him, they just have the offensive weaponry. So I think the scheduling, their division, the fact that they do have to play 2 division games without Justin Jefferson, and they're already 1-4. And finally, the amount of productivity that Kirk Cousins, that Justin Jefferson, accounts for in that offense. I think that Justin Jefferson is a guy. So that's who I think is the biggest injury past, Week 5 right now for me. So that's what I got, man.
Cowboys, man. I think when you look at it and you look into the injuries per team, it's like when you start looking at the Cowboys as a whole, you lose Diggs. You lose Deshaun Wright. You lose a tackle, an offensive tackle, another offensive tackle in Josh Ball. And then when you look at this past week, Devontae Turpin, high ankle sprain. And then Leighton Vander Esch, who is going to miss a couple weeks as well. And so it's like, instead of it just being like, I think the biggest injury, I think as a whole, it's starting to get to a point where the straw is going to break the camel's back. And it's just not going to be a good year for the Cowboys. Outside of Dak, like Dak is definitely going to have to play a more cleaner game if the injuries start piling up on the defensive side of the ball, because that's their strong suit. And for whatever reason, 49ers come out and they look amazing against that great defense. And it's supposed to be a legendary defense according to those players on the defense. And so I think at a certain point, it just like, as much as the high hopes of the amount of talent, but when that talent starts getting hurt by a piece, it's going to eventually chop the tree down.
I see that. It's kind of like, what is it? The straw that broke the camel's back.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. And also the division, and you're going up against a team and the Philadelphia Eagles, to your point, who we talk about as, I think last week you said that you still like what they have to offer. And I think we like their talent, and they look like they could possibly hit their stride. So they're a pick for a lot of people outside the 49ers to make it back to the Super Bowl. So I like that, man.
Yes. And next up, whew, it's a minute, about a minute left in the game. Game 2, Aces dominate game 1.
Mm.
Aces dominate game 2. So now we're going back to New York with the Liberty down 0-2.
Yeah.
Can they win, man?
Well, I think the Aces are going to win, but I believe that Asia Wilson was playing with fire in her eyes. You got to think about the Breonna Stewart situation, and a lot of her teammates didn't feel that I guess she was the deserving of the MVP. I think Asia Wilson was the one that deserving of the MVP. So they didn't feel like Stewart, was deserving of the opponent. I want to correct my grammar on that. And the game was dwindling down. I actually have it on the side here, 104 to, I believe, 70. So yeah, it says 0-17 record by teams trailing 0-2, 0-8 in the NBA Finals. So that's pretty bad. But neither team, if I'm not mistaken, bro, has won on the other team's home court this season. And I believe that for the WNBA and ratings, and they need viewership. I think that when you go back home to New York, they're a team that's way too talented. I think they may get some favorable whistles. So I think this is going to be a game 3. How do the Liberty respond, Ralph? Do they come back, and do they, play with a sense of urgency early, and can they sustain that? Because it could be a situation where they play with a sense of urgency, but the task is too heavy, right? And if you let the Aces catch up and they start to hang around, which they say teams tighten up, and the Aces wind up coming out in the late third quarter, which they've done before, and then the fourth quarter, and they take over the game, and then we have a potential sweep in our hands. So I think that actually might wind up happening, that last scenario where I think that they'll come out with the lead to Liberty, but I think the Aces may steal game 3 in New York. So that's my opinion on that.
All right. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think when you think about it, with how dominant they've been in the first 2 games,
real dominant, man.
And then, like we mentioned last week, they got a plethora of hoopers over there. Like Jackie, 24-8 and 4 today. Kelsey Plum, 23 points, assists, going 5 for 8 from 3. Playoff G, Chelsea Gray, with 14 and 11 with the double-double, smooth double-double, point guard. And then Asia Wilson, the boss, out here 26 and 15.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you look at how they matched up against the other team, Stewie had 14 and 13. That's just not going to be good enough. And then Sabrina had 10. So at some point, either someone's not meeting their end of the bargain, or the defense is just is they playing too much defense.
Right.
I can't get off, coach. Like, we got to do something. We got to make an adjustment. And that's the thing for me, that like the way that it's happening is what makes it alarming.
I mean, yeah, that's horrible. Yeah, I'm looking at that up and under they just showed. I don't know if you saw that, the up and under. That was smooth. Proceed, man.
I'm sitting there like, I'm trying to sit here and I'm trying to think, and I'm trying to think of where's the silver lining for this. But there's a part of my head, like, sweet, hey Rob, go get the brooms.
Right.
Liberty out of here.
It's not good for the WNBA. It's sweet, man. I'm telling you.
It's not good for the WNBA because if any team was going to stand a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Now this thing, we don't even have Candace back.
She's with Steph doing a CarMax commercial. She's at CarMax looking for a car.
So I'm like, bro, no Candace, and we beating the team, the best team in the East. Yeah, we finna get them up out of there though. Stewie, Sabrina, Miss Jones, y'all can go ahead. Cancun on 3.
1, 2, 3, Cancun.
1, 2, 3, Europe. Woo! Going overseas to play some more basketball.
Hey, they just said on ESPN, Asia Wilson, third career 20-point, 10 rebound game in the WNBA Finals, second most all time.
GOAT. She's the GOAT.
There we go. She's the GOAT.
Next up, man, with speculation, all the rumors that have been happening over the offseason, James Harden constantly in trade talks. He reports for Sixers training camp, but also still wants out. Is it a good move or a bad move for the Clippers to pursue James Harden?
All right, so I know what everyone wants to hear me say, but I'm going to play devil's advocate, right? Because I for the sake of argument, right? I'm going to actually say, why not? Because, and here's why, here's why, Ralph. What did the Clippers actually have to lose, aside of maybe some parts of their sanity, but and maybe a lot of draft picks or whatever, but if they want to succumb to Daryl Morey's whims, what do they really have to lose in getting James Harden? And so I took some notes and I sat back and I thought about it objectively speaking. If they get James Harden's going back to Southern California and LA, where he's from, right? He gets a chance to play with his best friend, Russell Westbrook, who many think, well, why do you need James Harden when you had Russell Westbrook? But let's see what James Harden can do for you, right? With James Harden, they have a chance of getting a really good regular season player who will afford them in getting a higher seed so they can contend in the playoffs. What has the Clippers' biggest issue been the last couple of years? Injuries, and when those guys go down, Kawhi or PG or both, they don't have another star player who could really carry the load and keep the team afloat to a point where they can get a respectable seed. In the Western Conference, you need to at least be a top 3 seed, if we're being realistic, to contend for a championship, right? So James Harden, can he do that for you? I think he can. Then I'm looking at it like this. James Harden is an elite playmaker. A lot of people get caught up in his other antics and his, off the court or whatever you want to call it, or preseason and all that kind of stuff that he does. But he's actually still a very elite playmaker, right? And I'm looking at Paul George, unlike Joel Embiid, yes, MVP candidate, second best center in the league today. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard have made more deeper runs than Joel Embiid had since he's been in Philadelphia. Joel Embiid has never got past the second round. Joel Embiid has also gotten injured normally during the second round. Kawhi Leonard, he's made it all the way to the NBA Finals. Paul George in 2021 made it all the way to the conference finals, and he remained healthy. So now James Harden is actually joining two players who are going to be there for you during the playoffs. And me and you both agreed, had Kawhi not got injured, that series could have went a whole nother way. Because I remember I picked the Suns. I think you picked the Suns, but I picked the Clippers. And Russell Westbrook was balling. What if he had James Harden? That series could have been a little bit different. And James Harden also showed that he can get you 2 games just last year because he has still the ability to go supernova. So he has the ability to win you some playoff games, at least 2 playoff games. I think that is very crucial. So I'm looking at James Harden, who has been relatively healthy in the regular season. And I think that a lot of people are kind of looking at some of the more antic stuff and think that he just forgot how to play basketball. And I'm like, actually, no. I think James Harden will be able to rest when you have a guy in the forms of Bones Highland, as well as Westbrook, who will allow James Harden to remain fresh throughout the course of the regular season, which is what Kawhi Leonard and Paul George have. And finally, this is their last hope. Literally, they don't have any other option, because if you don't get James Harden, what is your option? You're going to remain with the same team and you're going to lose again, and you might actually lose in the first round this time. So that is me playing devil's advocate. But me and you both know I don't believe in this team anymore. I stopped after 2021 when my favorite player got assassinated by Joe Ingles. So that's all I got. I'm going to let you take the floor and spew what you want to spew, man, because I'm done on that.
The only thing for me, man, I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but the only thing for me is, if you do get him, you're going to start Russ, James, Kawhi, and Paul George in the same lineup?
It could actually low-key might work in the regular season, though. It might work. It might work, bro. Because James.
But if we're doing this, we're not doing this for the regular season.
That's why I don't think they'll win a chip, though.
Yeah. So I'm like,
I don't think they'll win a chip.
I don't know. I feel like it's a good insurance move, because if y'all just can't stay healthy, at least if I got one of y'all, James, PG, and Russ or James PG, a James Kawhi and Russ, all right, like I got something to work with.
Mhm.
But if you just going out there and you got all four and Zubac, come on now,
But they have Plumlee now, right? I think they still got Plumlee.
come on, dog.
Plumlee was solid, but I think they'll get destroyed by Jokic. They'll get destroyed by
What are we really even talking about here?
AD.
We're happy about Plumlee as our starting center and to make a good long playoff run.
Hey, I didn't say they'd make a deep run. I'm just saying it'll be interesting. Be interesting. I think James Harden looks good in that jersey.
Torching them. Jokic is torching them.
Ja Morant.
Bro, even like Sabonis work.
Yeah. De'Aaron Fox, all them.
Yeah, like nah. So speaking of Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox, great segue. Got us thinking about top 5 NBA duos.
You want to take the lead on that one, or you want me to?
I'm gonna go. All right, I'm gonna give y'all Rob's top 5. Hey Rob, we gonna break down your top 5.
Brought to you by Budweiser. No, let me stop.
Brought to you by Robert Hayes. Go get the album on Spotify. Everlasting Sunday.
There we go.
Promo plug.
Mm-hmm.
But side, my 5 or Rob's 5. Starting from the 5. Tatum and Brown. I'll take a great lawyer for KD and Book. We do agree on this spot and players in this position on the whole thing.
Okay.
KD and Book at 4 because I got them at 4 also. We got AD and LeBron. Jokic and Murray. And Giannis and Dame. Specifically, Giannis and Dame, not Dame and Giannis.
Okay.
So my 5 is his 1. I got Dame and Giannis at 5.
Okay.
I think too early to throw them at the top because of the Jokic and Murray are coming off of a chip, and they look dominant while doing so. AD and Book haven't had extreme amount of success together, but we saw the potential for what it could be, given that they get a full season with each other. I think both of their abilities to take over a game offensively, Book has stepped it up on the defensive end, taking the challenge of guarding best perimeter players, while also KD has always been a great help defender.
Yes.
He's a long defender. He's not the best defender, but he makes it tough. He makes you have to take tough shots. You never question KD's ability to play defense. And so I think both of them together, they're a great duo, but they haven't had a lot of success together, only give it 1 season. So I'm going to give them 4. Tatum and Brown, I got 3.
Okay.
For all of the reasons that I just mentioned, they might not be the offensive threats that those guys are, but they make up for it where they're not too far off from Book and KD offensively, but also their ability to play defense where they can just legit lock up, create stops, create turnovers on the defensive end, and not just make you have to take a tough shot, but they're actually taking the ball out of your hands, strips and things off of people's legs, going out of bounds, or intercepting the passing lanes, like that type of thing.
Right.
Is why I would give them the number 3 spot. And then I got LeBron and AD. We've seen when both of them are on, AD is being aggressive, and LeBron's just always going to be Mr. Consistent. But when AD is aggressive, you go from when LeBron is getting 25, 18 for AD on that end, you get 25, and you could get a 35, 40-point game from an AD. And it's like that type of output on the offensive end when it comes to scoring the basketball. And then both of them, when they're locked in on defensive end, being able to protect the rim. LeBron being a great on-ball defender when he wants to be.
Okay.
At this late in his career, he's just not being as aggressive. And so to finish up, I got Jokic, Murray as my number 1. I think, like I said, that dominant spot how dominant they were, Murray's ability to close games, Jokic's game ability to play through three quarters and then let Murray take over, play off of him. Uh, just an all around game for both of them, and they benefit and work well with each other. And so I'm gonna go Jokic and Murray.
Okay. All right. So at number 5, I like your duos that you had like the names in there. So at number 5, I have the immortal easy money sniper and book Kevin Durant and Devin Booker of the Phoenix Suns. I think out of these duos, scoring wise, prolific scoring wise, they're the best scoring duo out of these. I think when you look at Devin Booker, his ability and the type of shots he's able to make, Kevin Durant, the floor space that they both provide. Devin Booker has taken a leap on the defensive side of the ball, and I hope that eventually he can be awarded with an all defensive team because I've noticed that he's not just being a willing defender, but he's also trying to defend the perimeter players, like the good perimeter players in the league. Yeah. And they were also the only team to get 2 games off of the Denver Nuggets, and I think that a lot of people sleep on that. So I got to put Devin Booker and Kevin Durant in my top 5. Number 4, I have LeBron and AD. Why? Because LeBron and AD, they're one team that has proven that they can win a championship together. They fit well together. The only issue that I have is AD is like the NASDAQ, like Kevin Garnett said. He goes up, down, up, down. There's times when he looks like a top 5 player in the league, and there's times when he gets destroyed by Xavier Tillman. So when you're getting destroyed by someone by Xavier Tillman, and you should dominate people like Xavier Tillman if you're on the level that we think you're on, that concerns me. So you're just inconsistent. But when he's on, he looks amazing. LeBron James, injuries, age and attrition at times is slowly starting to catch up to him. So now he has to function more as a free safety defensively. I think that's actually where he's best suited as his role. And his 3-point shooting is just not really that great. But when they're on, they're on. So I think that they're near the bottom of my list. So I got them at number 4, but they won a chip, so I have them over. Then at number 3, I'm going to put Giannis and Dame. I believe, like you talked about before the show, that this is ultimately going to be the best duo. I think sometimes people overthink things, and this is just nothing to really overthink for me. I think it's going to work out seamlessly. I also think that the addition of Giannis getting mentored by Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon is going to take strides. He also looks more strong. Also at his press conference, I think he's about to destroy it. And he said, I might only have to play 25 minutes per game. Like he wasn't lying. He's like, yeah, if I only have to play 25 minutes per game, I'm perfectly fine. So I got them at number 3 because ahead of them, I have to give the Jason Tatum and the Jaylen Brown, the 2 lawyers, as you call them, laying down the ground law. They've made 3 of the last 4 Eastern Conference Finals appearances at a young age. People forget how young this duo is. And me and you agree, don't bring up the duo. Let Joe Mazzulla learn from his mistakes, learn from his lineups, right? You bring in Drew Holiday. So I like them. I like that they're both perimeter defenders on both sides of the ball. And they also made the NBA Finals. So as DMX once said, if I did it once, I can do it again. It was on The Last Hope. So shout out to DMX, rest in peace. and then I think number 1, we're at number 1 for me. Yeah, number 1 because I had Giannis name. So. And then number 1, Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, for everything that you said. They've won the chip. Jamal Murray proved he was one of the best fourth quarter closers in the NBA last season. In the playoffs, I think they were like number 1 in like pick and roll points as well. And Jokic, man, he's like defending 3 players on the court. So, and he's not the best individual defender, but he's one of the most smartest defenders. It's weird, right? He's actually a very smart defender, but individually defensively, he's not the best. So it's IQ, defensive IQ, knowing where to be at the right times, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what I got, man. So those are my duos, man.
All right. Next up, man, we got some pick'ems. Time for that part of the show. We got some pick'ems. First up, we got number 8 Oregon versus number 7 Washington. Go crazy.
All right, so I'm going with Washington. Why? Because they're rooted in substance, man. They're playing to beat Oregon. They're not playing for clicks, man. I think that the buck stops here with Oregon. Bo Nix, I think I had him in my, I don't know if I put him in my top 5 for the Heisman, Ralph. No, because I put,
I did not, because he's 38 years old. Like, come
yeah,
on.
yeah. I think now, this is the team where, okay, I think they're going to cause him some problems, and I believe that Washington is going to be able to keep up with them. Unlike when we looked at the Colorado game, man, Colorado, they got just completely destroyed from tip off, right? And so I just thought that they were overmatched. They didn't have the trench work to really stick with Oregon. But I actually like Washington in this matchup. So that's the team that I'm going to roll with. I'm going to roll with the number 7 team over number 8. Lucky number 7. I'm into numerology. So
Vegas has Washington at -3.
Hey, that might be cover the spread right there. I can definitely see that.
I'm gonna go Oregon, man. I think that the defense. I think that they have a really high-powered offense, and I think that ultimately it's just gonna. They're scoring 50 points a game so far. So I think that going into this, man, I think they're just gonna be able to get. They're gonna put too many points on the board, and I don't think Washington's gonna be able to hang. So depending on the weather, because Washington's offense is very pass heavy, where Oregon could do both. They have a top wide receiver, but they have the ability to run the ball up and down the field. And so I think for that reason, Oregon is going to end up being able to get the victory.
That's true. They can run the ball. That's another dynamic they have.
Right. And so next up, Oregon. I'm not Oregon, but we got USC. Number 10 USC versus 21 Notre Dame. Can they do something for me?
All right. Hey, 21. Can you do something for me? They can play for the other team because I think that USC, man, number 10. Well, Caleb Williams. I know everyone is on the hype of Caleb Williams, this, Caleb Williams, that, but I believe it, man. You see some of these throws that he made. Now, the one interception that he made on like the last game that he played, I think that was just a little bit, he just didn't put enough juice on it. But I'm looking at it, I like rolling with my quarterbacks. My only concern, Ralph, and we mentioned this before the show, I don't believe in the ugly, spoiled children's defense that much. That's my only qualm. But isn't Zachariah Branch going to be in this game?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's back. He didn't play last game. That matters to me. And he adds an element that they didn't have. And so I think that having to account for someone like Zachariah Branch, because people forget that he was missing pieces as well, Caleb Williams. I think that duo, they're like a kind of a dynamic duo. It's not just all Caleb Williams. It helps when you have someone who knows when you're doing those off-script plays, kind of like Mahomes, because, the Mahomes-esque that he has. It helps when you have someone who has the, what's that word? The synergy. The synergy is in sync, knows where you like to be off schedule, catching the football. So I like that. I think they're dynamic. Lincoln Riley, though, it's the same old thing with him in the defense. But the Pac-12, to me, I think that the Heisman candidates, in terms of like the best in college football, for the most part right now, are coming from the Pac-12. And Notre Dame is going to be interesting in terms of them putting up points on the board. But I'm going to go with Caleb Williams because it's just so hard to stop him, I think, once he's on the heater. I think that he's one of those players that can retain heat from game to game to game. He did it last year. Now he's doing it again this year. So I'm going to roll with USC in this one. I'm actually curious to hear your take on how the game is going to play out. But if you have the spread on there, let me know.
Let me see. Let me see if I can get the spread. For me, man, I got I keep wanting to say I got USC. Spoiled children over there. Is doing their thing, man. I think that Caleb is just going to be too much for him at the end of the day. And that's the part where I don't think Notre Dame is going to be able to match that.
Okay.
We've seen them win lose a close one against Ohio State. And I think that although Ohio State is ranked higher, I think that USC's offense is more explosive. So I don't think that they're going to be able to hold them off. Caleb Williams' ability to move the pocket and big strong arm down the field with his athletic receivers pretty much. And so I think that is going to be too much for him at the end of the day. Hey yo, shout out to Marv, man. We got
Yeah, guys.
big chains, man. We making some money out
Yeah.
here.
I wear my chain every now and then, though. So, like, okay. I appreciate it, though.
Sorry about that, yo. That caught me off guard. That had me cracking up. But I just think that, I think Caleb Williams, the throws that he can make down the field, good athletic receivers that he can get the ball to, playmakers. I just think it's just gonna be too much for them at the end of the day. And so I got USC getting that victory.
Okay.
Next, we got number 12 UNC versus number 25 Miami.
Man, that's going to be I think this game's not going to be as lopsided as the rankings indicate, right? So Miami. I actually had the spread. I was actually pulling it up real quick. Let me give you that. Let's see. The underdogs by less than a touchdown against the Tar Heels. This one, I believe, is actually going to be sort of a shootout. Actually, I'm looking at it. The over-under is 57.5 points. We know Drake May's coming in, I think, 8 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. We have that. When you look at the Hurricanes, combined with their opponents to score more than 57.5 points in 4 of the 12 games last season. And then this season, they're doing their thing. They're now in the AP top 25. But I got to roll with Drizzy Drake on this one, man. So when I say Drizzy Drake, I'm talking about like the prime now. So that means he's going to have a prime. He's going to be
a prime.
Right, a prime performance versus the U, man. He's gonna beat all odds, and he's gonna try to stake some claim because he hears all the noise about Caleb and Bo Nix, right? Bo Nix now.
Bo Nix is 38 years old, bro. I don't want to hear that. Like,
I know, but I'm just saying he hears the noise, right? Because I feel like their coach was going on a campaign. I'm gonna go with my former ACC brethren, even though I was a Maryland Terps fan, so it was like blood rival. But I got to go with North Carolina in this one. I'm going to pick them to beat Miami. I know what side you're going with, but
yeah, man, because it's all about the U.
Is Ray Lewis playing? No, we stop.
Hey, Ray Lewis is not walking through that door.
Reggie Wayne? No, we
stop. That's how old Bo Nix is. He got grandkids, bro. Like he left Auburn. Like going out. But to get back to the game, man, I got Miami, man, in a victory. I think it's going to be a close one. I still think it's going to be within that touchdown mark. But I just think that Drake May, this is going to be his real test.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. And I think it's a heck of a test because if it wasn't for, I don't know what coach was doing, my man was really out there playing Madden. Just kneel the football. Why are you even running the ball where some stuff like that could happen? And then the defense just gave up the buns after that too. So it's like that entire victory is really the only reason why they're at 25. They slid tremendously. Coach was out there point shaving. Like this that type of thing is the only reason why we're even talking about Miami coming in at number 25 ranking, because they're 4-1. Like they would be 5-0. They would possibly be around 15 to 10 and be somewhere. This would be a much closer game. So I think the game is going to end up being closer to what people think it is. But I think this is going to be his test. But he gonna come up short on that test because I got Miami in a victory.
Okay.
And then next up, Broncos and Chiefs. I don't think we really got to spend too much time on it.
Nope.
So Bronco country.
All right. So that's AFC West. I have my thoughts, but I know that's your division. So you want to set that one off real quick? And
it's gonna be easy. This is gonna be a quick, easy victory, bro. Like I just don't see it. That defense is playing awfully right now. The defense is terrible. Patrick Mahomes and Kelsey has got synergy. Taylor Swift gonna be in the booth doing the Dougie. Like it's pretty get bad, bro. And I'm like, I feel like at some point, bro, you gotta have a conversation of what are we really doing here?
Right.
And I think the one thing I've come to realize is that this year's not Russ's fault.
Mm.
Like I hate how they're all over the quarterbacks when it comes to winning and losing, because it goes the same thing like that I've been arguing with when it comes to Derek Carr. If I go out and I put up these numbers, like you scored 24, 28 points in a game, you should be getting a victory. If your defense can't stop people from scoring 4 touchdowns. And so I think at this point, I got the Chiefs, but I feel bad for Russ because he's finally actually having a decent year on his statistical numbers. But that defense is giving up the booty.
All right. So my whole thing is Patrick Mahomes. Here's the most important stat that you need to know, ladies and gentlemen. Patrick Mahomes is 11-0 versus the Broncos. Next topic. Now, let me stop. No, but he's 11-0 versus the Broncos. That's not a rivalry in the division. That's a misunderstanding. That's what that is. That's not a rivalry, man. That's a massacre, man. So look, the Denver Ponies are going to lose to the Kansas City Chiefs, right? You have the rapport between, once again, Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. But we always talk about Patrick Mahomes. We always talk about Travis Kelce. Can I introduce you, ladies and gentlemen, to the third star of the show? Not Tyreek Hill. He's gone. Not Chris Jones, the Draymond Green of the defense. No, I'm talking about the offense. Can we finally give this guy some love, man? Isaiah Pacheco? Can we give him some love? Because last time I checked, wasn't it Devon Achane who destroyed the Denver Broncos? Right. When he was running. So you can run. He ran roughshod on that Denver Broncos defense. When the Miami Dolphins played, right? And they gave up 70 points. I told everybody, right, that once they gave up 70 points, this team is just bad. That's not a bad team. Right? Whatever is worse than bad. Someone find me a thesaurus and get back to me in about 30 seconds so I can find a word that's worse than bad. That's how bad they were. On top of that, right? Not only that, I believe that they actually jump-started Justin Fields' career with the game that he had versus the Broncos, man. They jump-started Justin Fields' career for real, man. No offense to Justin Fields, man, but I was like, hey, he need a little jump, right? And that really helped. And I think the Bears are going to go on a 3-game win streak or something. So I just think the Denver Broncos are bad. I don't blame Russ fully, right? I think that Vance Joseph is going to probably be fired. I think it's Vance Joseph, right, is the name of the defensive coordinator, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. It's Vance, right? I believe he's going to be fired. He should get the pink slip very soon. And it's just, one thing I like about the Broncos, though, and you might be able to attest to this, Ralph, because you have to play them twice a year, the Raiders. You have a Cortland Sutton. Jerry Jeudy, he hasn't quite lived up to expectation, but he's there. And then they have like another receiver there, I think. And like Cortland Sutton, they have like these receivers that low-key, like they can actually catch the football.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like Cortland Sutton was someone who I wanted the Ravens to draft a long time ago, and back when we always wanted a receiver every round. So I think just defensively, man, they're a porous defense. They couldn't defend the field if they lay on the field. And I think that's just something that's a problem. So I'm going with the 11-0 Chiefs. The Chiefs who are 11-0 against the Broncos with Patrick Mahomes and keeping it moving, man.
And so next up, we got Vikings and Bears in a Week 6 matchup, rivalry, division matchup. I think that the Bears is going to get the W, man. I think that the way that Justin Fields has been playing the last couple of weeks, although he lost against the Broncos, but he looked great if it wasn't for those last 3 drives.
Yeah.
Last week, he looked good. Read the defense, ball placement, good strong arm, making smart plays, throwing the ball away instead of taking sacks. Pause. And so I think that they did what they were supposed to do. And I think that when the offense plays like that, it energizes the defense. And so I think along with it, Justin Jefferson pulling a hamstring, slipping while running a route, like we mentioned before in an earlier segment, I think it's just going to be too much where I don't think Kirk Cousins is going to be able to pull his team to a victory. I think that the Bears is going to be able to eat this one out and start off the win streak.
I agree. Everything that you said, I agree. So I'm in agreement with you there.
I need to see. I was trying to look it up real quick to see if is it just an afternoon game?
Oh, the Vikings and Bears.
Yeah, it's just a morning game. So I was
Yeah,
trying to see because if it's a Sunday night or Monday night game, it's gonna be a wrap.
yeah. It's a division game though, and so one thing with the division games is though we gotta make sure that we keep in check. Right? Is
Right.
when you play division games, ladies and gentlemen, teams they know the ins and outs, the finite details of their opponent because they're the one team that you're going to play multiple times in the season, and no other sport outside of maybe like the NBA does that. Well, NBA and MLB, so maybe forget that I just said that, but you know what I'm saying. Like you have
Right.
to play them multiple times a year. You don't have to play. Okay, if you are the Vikings, you're not going to play the Ravens twice a year. You're going to wind up playing
Right.
the Chicago Bears, so they know the ins and outs of them. And I think that, like we mentioned before, the absence of Justin Jefferson is going to prove to be a tough on them. And I think Jordan Addison will step up, but outside of that, they have practice squad receivers in Osborne. I think they signed N'Keal Harry as well. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So I just don't expect much. I just don't expect much from them. And
yeah.
so with the rest of the show, we got our quick hitters, man. We got to get to it, man. Did the Steelers win the game or did the Ravens lose it?
With all due respect, I know I'm a Baltimore Ravens fan. I'm being homer. The Ravens lost the game. When you talk about 7 drops, 3 of those drops being potential touchdown passes. You had the Mark Andrews one, right? You had the drop by Rashad Bateman, who I understand when people say, "Oh, he's always been hurt," blah blah blah, et cetera, et cetera. So he hasn't really gotten to get a rhythm. But no, that was a wide open pass. You had Zay Flowers. I guess that he saw God and he just slipped on the field. And so, I mean, that happened. A lot of different things happened, and a poor play call. I think me and you both agreed by Todd Monken, who actually called a good game with that back shoulder fade on a 6'2" Joey Porter Jr. and Odell Beckham's like 5'9". So like, come on, man, he's not Randy Moss jumping. So
Right.
that's it. But the defense played well for the Ravens actually. So we got to give it to that. So I'll keep it moving, man. All right.
So next up,
Mhm.
is this a prove it year for the Bulls?
I'll let you take that, man.
For me, man, yes. I'm sorry. At this point, I understand injuries are a part of the game, so you got to take the good with the bad. But at some point, you show promise even without certain players. So I don't want to hear the injury book situation no more. I think that they made a little bit of a mistake by not bringing back Patrick Beverly. We played significantly better once we got Patrick. And so we got Pat. Once we got Pat, young Pat started hooping.
All right.
Kobe White looked great. Caruso was able to play off that energy. Zach LaVine went to another level when it came to that type of leadership where he's not so worried about running the offense. Go get a bucket. Your job is to get a bucket.
Mm-hmm.
And then DeMar DeRozan playing off of that, Vooch, and how he played. So I think we have weapons that even without Lonzo would fit them perfectly for what they need out of him. But I think through Kobe, you got someone who can get buckets. You got Io who's going to play smart basketball, can hit the open shot, get to the rim, play good defense, guard 1 through 3. And then you got Javon Carter, who is pretty much a young Pat Bev. So I think at some point you've got players that can make up for what Lonzo is missing, what you're missing with Lonzo. So I think the other pieces just got to step up. I think Pat Williams got to start playing like what we thought he could be, a 3-and-D at a stretch 4. And so playing off of Vooch, DeMar DeRozan, and Zach LaVine, like I mentioned before, DeMar's been pretty healthy, but I need Zach. Zach got to give me 65, 70 games this year.
Yes.
Because I just think that in order for us to have that success, we got to have our team healthy.
Okay.
And so I don't want to hear the excuse of injuries. You got to show me something this year for me to get excited as a fan that once we get Lonzo back, we can take it to the next level.
Okay.
And so we talked about the Aces earlier. In past weeks, we've talked about how the WNBA is speaking about expansion. We know for sure the Warriors or There should be like a female Golden State type team.
Mm-hmm.
But it leads me through when you go back and you look at the bad boy Pistons. When the Timberwolves became a team, they lost Mahorn to that Timberwolves team. Not one of their biggest superstars, but he was a vital key component coming off the bench, if not being a starter. And so it made me answer the question, can expansion end a dynasty?
So, in my opinion, it depends on depends on what league we're talking about and what players are being coached and the size of the league. And the reason why I say that is all about parameters. So, for me, if we talk about the WNBA having 12 teams and having two of those teams being dubbed as super teams in the New York Liberty and the Las Vegas Aces, I believe that just the talent pool is just that much more. The disparity is that much larger. So that if you're adding two new teams in an expansion draft, I don't think that whoever they may lose on the bench or any other uh, role player, et cetera, who that role player on that team would actually probably be a better player than other players in other teams. I still don't think that that would be too much of a knock because you have leadership at the coaching position, right? You have top 5, top 10 player candidates probably in your starting lineup, right? And I just think that the pool, or should I say the depth of the league for the WNBA isn't really affected. Now, in the NBA, like you mentioned with Rick Mahorn, we've had other expansions, et cetera, that can also pay dividends because you have much larger player pool. You're talking about what 30 NBA teams, if I'm not mistaken, right? Right now. So yeah, that would definitely change. Like let's say if you lose somebody like maybe a Jared Vanderbilt or maybe an Austin Reeves or something like that. Or a KCP and Alex Caruso back when the Lakers, right, from the bubble, and we saw what happened there. So I think it really just depends on depth and it depends on in player personnel. So yeah, it varies. It's from league to league because expansions don't just happen in the NBA. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's based on putting players in a pool and then
What players?
drafting because when it comes to the NBA has the rule of the main rule is a team can protect 8 players on their roster.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you think about it, they're able to do that because of how many teams there are. So it kind of puts it to the point where, all right, if you can do 8, there's a 12-man roster, 12 to 15-man roster.
Mm-hmm.
You can save 8 of them to protect them. It kind of puts you in a position where, like, all right, that's 32 teams times 8. Where in order to get a number where it's kind of similar to that or proportionate in percentage wise, it's like would that cut things down on the WNBA spectrum to where if we add 2 teams and you can protect 4,
4 or 3.
3 or 4,
Mm-hmm.
it kind of makes you look at that team because it's like, all right, so you got Jackie Young, Chelsea Gray, Kelsey Plum, Asia, and Candace.
So Kansas would probably be based off
So
of
if you would, if it be 3 or 4, then you gonna have to one of them, 2 of them is gonna have to go, or if not one of them, is gonna have to go over there. So I think with that, it kind of puts you in a position of where, like, what do you do?
Keep a big 3.
And so it's like you do you go with Jackie because she's younger, she's starting to play great in this playoffs, she took over in this playoffs, or do you go with who your big 3 has been? With Asia, Chelsea, and Kelsey? Or do you let Chelsea Gray walk because she's the oldest one? And so that I think with stuff like that, those certain instances where you start to have those conversations is like that's where I think that it possibly could.
Mm-hmm.
And so next up, Playoff P, Podcast P, Paul George, being interviewed, was asked if he felt like he wasn't asked, but he went on to say that he felt like his team was not underperforming and that there is no pressure on the Clippers. Do you agree?
No, I do not agree on that. And Taylor Rooks even tried to get him to expound, and he's like, "On what?" And she's like, "Oh, you know." So pretty much, there's always been pressure on the Clippers to win a championship. Why? Because there was a big hoopla, as we remember, in the summer of 2020 of them pretty much winning a championship. They teamed up. Kawhi Leonard wanted all these wanted a certain running mate, right? And they gave up like 7 first-round picks and Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. So, I mean, like that's exactly what happened. And Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, what did he average last year? Like 35 a game, right? And now they got Chet Holmgren back. Yeah, man. I think the Clippers date's a number, bro. So look, and I'm a Paul George fan. I know you like Paul George. I still to this day think that his game is smooth as Land O'Lakes butter. But what does that do for you if you are the best ability is availability, as we like to say, and your best players are always injured? They've been needing a point guard since Chris Paul. They've been asking for point guard since Chris Paul, right? Ever since Chris Paul left, right, and wanted out, they've been trying to acquire a point guard. They haven't gotten a point guard. They needed bigs. They finally got Mason or Miles Plumlee, right? I forgot now, man. Mason Plumlee.
I think it's Mason Plumlee.
Yeah, Mason Plumlee, who Ralph just so eloquently was like, "Man, come on, Kai."
Like, come on now, that's your starting 5. Like that's your 5. No,
right? They got as my dad would say, the Energizer Bunny. He calls him Energizer Bunny and Russell Westbrook, right? Whether that's a good thing or not, that he calls him Energizer Bunny is something we can talk about off air. But but so that's my point, man. I like him, but for the sake of time, yes, you've underperformed, and yes, there will always be pressure. Maybe the spotlight, Ralph, I think would be better termed. The spotlight's not necessarily on the Clippers anymore. But yeah, there's always pressure. So that's all I got.
And then who is most likely to make his first All-Star game this year?
Good. I'm gonna let you lead on that one because I just gave my little thing on the last one. What'd you think, man?
I had Jamal Murray, and then after watching Jordan Poole,
so you thinking Jordan Poole?
I know that it wasn't against NBA talent, but he almost put up a 50 piece in a preseason game. So, and I think that with the lack, like when you started to have a conversation of guards in the East, so you go Jimmy Butler, you get Jaylen Brown, Donovan Mitchell, Garland, Dame just went over to the East. You got Drew, Tyrese Maxey, and so
Brunson and Halliburton
as well. Levine,
Ice Trey,
and then Trae Young. So I'm sitting there thinking, like, it's not that crazy. It just depends on if he could put up a decent number, where can he make enough noise to get us a spot? And I think that he can. I think he has a talent level, the confidence, and being able to go to a team where who else gonna shoot? But if it's not him, I think it's gonna put him in a position of where he can have a lot of individual success.
Okay.
And then who you got? 30 seconds.
All right, I got Jamal Murray.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I made it simple. You want a chip, man.
Right. And so thank you all for watching. Make sure you go and you follow all our socials. These are our personals on the bottom of the screen. You can find me at KYNGRALPH on Threads, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, add an underscore for Twitter. Make sure you go and like the YouTube channel at J.U.K.media. Subscribe. Go on there, press the subscribe button, please. We need it. On Facebook, look up the He Say, She Say, All One Chump channel. Make sure you like that page. For unbiased breakdown and analysis, NBA season is heating up, getting back into it like we just said. But so go to Instagram, go in that search bar at the.houseofhoops. Click on it, like, follow it, share it, comment. We need engagements. Kai's gonna get you right. Get the engagements up. If you in here watching, comment, say hi. We rock with you. And thank you all for watching. We got to get up out of here. Peace, love, and chicken grease.